This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network, and we are a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, which is being held virtually this year. Joining me right now is Derrick White. He is the president and CEO of Ascot Resources. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you, AOT on the TSX and AOTVF on the OTCQX. Derrick, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's great to have you on. So let's start with a very quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll get into some updates.
Sure. Well, briefly over the last 2.5 years, myself and a number of my former colleagues from Quadra FNX joined the company and kind of changed the focus of the company to moving towards production and focusing on high-grade resources and the development of those resources. And really, over the last 3 years, we've amassed about 12.8 million tons of resources at around 8 grams. And about half of that has been put into a reserve, and a feasibility study has been put forward. And so the company really went from nothing very quickly to the restart of a brownfield site at the southern part of the Golden Triangle.
So we actually last talked at Precious Metals Beaver Creek 2 years ago, back in 2018. So,
okay.
I'd love to get an update, not the full 2 years, but let's do like the last 12 months. What are some of the company's corporate highlights?
Well, really, we did 3 acquisitions. We completed the deal with Boliden. We did a deal with a company called Jaden. And then in March of 2019, we acquired IDM's Red Mountain project. And really since then, what's been the focus of the company was taking kind of these deposits and forming a hub and spoke around an existing mill facility. And we were able to put together an engineering study that showed, look, we have a pretty high grade project and it's got a pretty good return. And at the time, as things kind of evolved out of 2019 and into 2020, gold prices were obviously starting to move up. We did the feasibility study at $1,400 gold, and that showed to have a IRR of about plus 50% and, a very low capital cost and pretty low operating costs. And so, what the company has been trying to do is take that study and finance that ultimately to the construction period. And at the same time, because that takes some time, focus on the exploration opportunities that we have. And just last week, we started the drill program really in June of this year. And we just released some initial results, and those results, were pretty spectacular. We had some zones of, over 40 grams a ton and some pretty wide zones. So we see that the deposit has still a lot more opportunities to grow. And the real thing for us now is to kind of have a company that can develop a very, good production profile and then increase that or expand that or make it longer by additional exploration and adding to those reserves.
So what would you say is the one question that you get asked by investors, more often than not? Maybe we can address that on here.
Well, there's probably more than one, but I'll give you 2. The first one is, how are you going to finance building the project, and how much dilution am I going to suffer? And, really to answer that question, we see this as a pretty robust project, especially because it's low capital, because it's a brownfield site. And that, really comes down to us putting a debt package and possibly a silver stream on the property and reducing the amount of additional equity we have. And that takes time, and especially with COVID considerations, everything's going to take a little longer to put together, but we're hoping that sometime, in early October, early fall, we'll be able to announce that financing package. We've been working with a number of capital providers to look at how we do that. So, you're going to get some debt on this, but because the margins are so good, it makes sense. And I think that's a big question for investors, the potential quote overhang that we have for how we're going to finance it and what dilution they're going to suffer. And I would say the second question that we get from a lot of retail shareholders is, your exploration results are so fantastic. Do more drilling. We want to see more drilling. And we're certainly trying to balance how much drilling we can do, how much engineering we have to do, and also just, we have to be cognizant of COVID-19 requirements. This is a small community. We go back to it every night. We have to be a little bit cautious about how many people we bring in and stuff like that.
And then from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts now for the rest of this year going into 2021?
Yeah, I really see the big value catalyst as being probably three or fourfold. The first one is bedding down the financing and showing the capital structure to build a mine. I think the second one, which can happen at any time, is just exploration results. You know, the results that we just had last week were just fantastic. There's a whole new zone that it looks like we have. That's obviously going to be ongoing, and we hope to continue to drill because we have some lower elevation targets right into, you know, kind of October. I would say the next one after that is submitting the permit amendment application, which we're hoping to do in the early fall. And then the last one is really announcing the construction, you know, the actual start of construction when that permit amendment comes through, and obviously first production. Those are probably the big catalysts that the gold price, you know, at today's gold price, the IRR jumps to over 80%, and the amount of cash flow that this can generate is significant. And so that's obviously helpful along the way as well.
And Derrick, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Ascot Resources?
Well, our website is really the first one, and that's at www.ascotgold.com. And the second one is to do a virtual tour on verify.com, and that's spelled VRIFY.com. And go under the Ascot project, and you'll be able to fly around yourself and see what I'm so excited about.
Well, Derrick, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Yes, thank you very much, Robert.
Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Kraft. I'm your host on SNN.Network, and we're a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, being held virtually this year. Derrick will be there giving a presentation on Ascot Resources, and thank you all for listening today.